Hello, everybody, and welcome to Box Seat Banter. I'm your host, Billy Ballas, a baseball coach in the South Bay, and I'm joined today by some baseball coaching royalty in South Bay High School scene. We're broadcasting from my season seats at Dodger Stadium. Joining me, Ollie Turner, Evan Fujinaga, and Alex Morales. Guys, welcome to the program. It's great to have you guys here.
Thanks, Billy.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Bill.
And today we were talking about the Dodgers, and we're lucky to have, there's so many Dodger people to choose from, and I couldn't limit it to just one, so I have these three guys here to talk about them. They have plenty of baseball knowledge and knowledge on the Dodgers. The Dodgers began play way back in 1883 in the American Association. They joined the National League in 1890. Their official team name is very creative, was the Brooklyn Baseball Club. That's two words in baseball, so Old Hoss Radburn would approve. They were affectionately known as the Brooklyn Robins after their manager, Wilbur Robinson. They had a bunch of other, unofficial names over the years: the Grays, the Atlantics, the Bridegrooms, the Grooms, the Superbas. They officially adopted the Dodger nickname in 1932, and it's after the pedestrians dodging the trolley cars there in Brooklyn. They moved to LA in 1958, and they took that Dodger name with them here to LA, just like the Lakers. The Lakers and the Dodgers, it doesn't really make a lot of sense in LA, but here we are. We love the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are definitely part of LA culture. Do you guys know where they first played when they came to LA?
Coliseum, right?
Yeah, the Coliseum. Left field was like 250 feet, so they played at the Coliseum. The football stadium, it was converted to baseball there for the first 4 years there, 58 to 61. It's kind of surprising that they did not play in Wrigley Field in LA, where the Pacific Coast League Angels played, which was a baseball stadium, but they played there. Then Dodger Stadium opened up in 1962, and they've been playing there since then. It's now the third oldest stadium in the big leagues. In this time period, they've had several division titles, especially recently. They won the NL West in 95, 04, 08 and 09, and then they began a stretch of 8 in a row from 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and just the other day they clinched the NL West again in 2020. They've also won the wild card in 96 and 06. 2 NL pennants in this time period in 2017 and 2018. They've got 23 total. And as is well documented, they're in a World Series drought. They have not won the World Series in this time period. Their last one, that famous World Series in 1988. They have 6 total World Series, one of those coming in Brooklyn in 1955, then 5 in LA in 59, their second year here in LA, then 63, 65, 81, and 88. A lot of division titles there without getting that final, without winning that final game. It's been tough being a Dodger fan and seeing all those playoff disappointments, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking they won one when they played in the Coliseum then.
Yeah.
In 59, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then, all these years, well, I have a son named Gibson after the 88, and then for a while we weren't that good, but lately we've been really good. So it's been a little frustrating not to capstone all those good games we got to watch all summer, all those years.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of it, right? You were able to enjoy the games that summer because your team was competitive and winning, and it's hard to win. Getting in there is fun, makes it exciting, and yeah, it's if it were easy, it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, we were arguing about that. Like, so even though this crazy season, like we just know the Dodgers are good, so it's been so fun, even to watch those pre-summer camp games or whatever where they put Chico in left. Like everything's fun because every at bat and every pitcher that comes in, they're good. But yeah, obviously in every other sport they measure championships, in every sport. And so football, basketball, we were talking about how it's a little different if you have a couple marquee players, then you know you're going to get to a certain level in the playoffs. But it's not always the case when you win 100 games or whatever.
Right. So yeah, they have had a lot of success, and yeah, like you mentioned, it certainly makes it easier to follow the team because you know they're going to be good and competitive and get to the postseason. And obviously, postseason baseball is very exciting, very nerve-wracking to watch too. That's coming up here shortly, next week. We're a few days away, but it'll be fun here to talk about the past 25 years and some of the successes and shortcomings of the Dodgers. Every week we have a trivia question on the show. Last week we talked about the Diamondbacks, and the trivia question was, who were the 2 players that the Diamondbacks have selected first overall in the draft? Those picks came in 2005 and 2015. Do you guys have any guesses on who they're? Fuge, any guess?
The number 1 overall pick by the Diamondbacks in 5 and 15?
Yeah.
5 and 15.
One of those
Don't have a
picks.
guess.
One of those picks was traded away.
I can tell you who their first pick ever was.
Who's that?
Nick Beerbot out of Long Beach Milliken.
Okay.
I think I heard the podcast, and I thought she was right. She sounded right.
All right.
And it was Upton and the guy in 2015 who's
Shortstop?
Yeah.
Was he, is he out of the game?
No, he's in the game, but
Still
not
in
for
the
the
game.
Diamondbacks.
Okay.
I should know his name. I just can't think of it. But I heard her say it, and I was like, she knew that one for sure.
Yeah, he's talking about Nicole, who was our guest last week, talking about the Diamondbacks. She did guess Justin Upton in 2005 and Dansby Swanson in 2015, and she was correct. Those were the 2 picks that the Diamondbacks had 1-1 overall. Which brings us to this week. Since I've got 3 guests, I've got 3 trivia questions for the Dodgers. Do you guys each want one?
Give
Or
me the easy one.
you want the easy one?
We phoned a friend, or
Yeah, these guys know, probably. Come on, ask me the easy
All
one.
right,
Tell me
okay.
the sort of, right?
Ollie, first one goes to you. So Clayton Kershaw had a string of 8 straight opening day starts from 2011 to 2018. Do you know who started before that stretch in 2010?
2010. I'm trying to remember when that was. So is that?
It was 10 years ago.
It had to be after Kevin Brown's contract.
You
What
just
year
saw
was
all
that?
the rosters the other day.
I know, and I
Kevin
just
Brown
got
was
mixed
gone
up what
way
year.
before that.
Way before that. So 2010, right before Kirsch was. I don't know. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
We were bad.
I know.
Right?
My guess would have been Billingsley.
Penny or Derek Lowe. Derek Lowe started one opening day.
That's a good call.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
Derek Lowe
Russell?
started one opening day. I know that because I remember thinking we're not very good because Derek Lowe started.
Okay, Derek, look, good guess. Next one, and remember, listeners, if you guys want to chime in on these, you can, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Boxseat Banter. Send your guesses there. Fuge, next question to you. This is a multi-part answer. So
jeez.
the Dodgers have not had a World Series MVP, unfortunately, in this time period. But they have gotten to the World Series, which means they won the NLCS. So they do have a couple NLCS MVPs.
Oh.
Who won the NLCS MVP in 2017 and 2018?
Would that be one of my favorite players, Cody Bellinger?
Okay, Cody Bellinger.
I don't know.
In the playoffs, you're picking Bellinger?
Is that one of your guesses?
No, I thought you were gonna say because you were trying to get this guy on the roster. I was gonna say. Oh, go ahead. What year? Do you know? You don't remember either of them?
17 and 18, right?
17 and 18.
One of them.
Kike?
That's what I wrote down.
Yeah,
That was one of
Kike
my
in 17,
guesses.
Bellinger in 18.
Okay.
These are the guesses.
Okay. All right. And Alex, last question to you. There's one Dodger, sticking with MVPs here, one Dodger won the All-Star Game MVP in this era. Do you know who it was and what year?
All-Star Game MVP. Dodger. From 95 till now, right?
Yeah.
Position player, pitcher. Let's see. Did Orel ever? No, Orel is way gone. You guys know this? Dodgers MVP. Did Jock have a game where he was in there and hit a home run or something? Russell Martin. Did they get a truck for it?
I think Chan Ho was co-MVP one year.
Oh
with
yeah,
Ripken,
he had a flair for that dramatic.
Gagne? Or like it seems
I
like
think Gagne blew the save in the All-Star game
Was it Brzezinski or something?
during the streak.
White Sox, I thought, got to him.
Didn't Kevin Brown strike out 3 guys in 9 pitches or something?
That was
They
Brad
had a word for
Penny.
that.
Brad Penny started the All-Star
Oh,
game.
Brad Penny, yeah. One of the Dodger guys did. And then I'm trying to think position players. Beltre or something have a game?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't
I think it was Tom Prince. He was the MVP one year, was it?
Tom Prince. No idea.
All right, so
And I got to give you a guess, right? So I'm gonna just throw it. Russell Martin came in and had a game or something.
okay, all right, that's a guess. If you guys want to throw a guess out there again, hit me up on social media. Now, talking about the owners of the Dodgers, the O'Malley family owned the team for a long time. Walter O'Malley brought them out to LA. Then Peter O'Malley, his son, inherited the team. He owned them from 79 to 97. Then he sold them to Fox, who owned the team from 98 to 04. Then McCourt, Frank McCourt, bought the team and owned it from 04 to 2012, and he was kind of forcefully ousted after that. Divorced from his wife, unable to really pay the payroll. MLB kind of forced him to sell.
Sorta.
And the Guggenheim Baseball Partners owns the team, headed by Mark Walter. Stan Kasten's also part of the ownership group. Magic Johnson, Peter Guber. And they've owned the team since 2012. Any thoughts on any of the owners, guys? I'm sure a lot of people have thoughts on McCourt. What are you guys feeling on some of the owners here?
What a job the current owners have done. That's the first thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They have, they definitely improved the organization from McCourt. So since they improved it so much, what does that say about what was going on under Frank McCourt?
Yeah, we didn't like that. He was like parking, like it was a mess, and he was from, I don't know. It just none of that sat well, and Fox felt like they were
Still
just
owns
trying
the parking lot. Come on, buddy.
yeah, making money off us too. But the O'Malley, to me, the O'Malley family is old school, and it we're gonna talk about Vin maybe later or whatever. But to me, it was you grow up a Dodger fan, and it was classy and LA and history and cool. And then when Fox had it, it was kind of shady, and McCourt the same way. And now you feel like they have smart people in place to do their jobs, and the farm system and everything else.
McCart gets a bad rap, but 2 straight NLCSs as well, and not far from getting to the World Series.
And they won. They in 04 and 06 they had playoff appearances as well.
Right.
If he doesn't get divorced and then lose half his money,
Not a girl, Jamie.
he's still the owner, and
She's not the ambassador of France, right? Is that-
they're
She, I don't know. Do you know where she is?
yeah, she is. It was. I don't know if she still is, but yeah, she was an ambassador.
Yeah, that just got ugly. But that was never. And the Dodgers were starting to be good, but now you just feel like everything is more well run.
Yeah, and Alex, like you mentioned, they did have those back-to-back NLCS appearances in 08, 09. In 09, they had the best record in the National League. And, yeah, they were knocking on the door of the World Series, but it didn't feel like it was sustainable.
Right.
And now, with the new ownership group, I look at him, when they bought the team, Walter, Kasten, and Magic, seemed like Walter was the money. He came in and just had, he provided most of the money. I don't know how much each guy put up. And
Magic had most of the money, I thought.
He's got a lot. I don't know how much he put in.
But that made it a happy story as well,
He's
for sure.
burning $200,000 a day on the blood transplant.
No.
Magic was like the face of that. He's the guy that everyone in LA knows and loves from his days with the Showtime Lakers. And then Stan Kasten is like the brains of the organization. He built the Braves up to that dynasty. He was part of the Nationals when they were being built up, and so now he's at his hand in
Real
the
quick
Dodgers.
on Stan, I'm 99.9% sure there was a game Fuji and I were at early, right as they took over. And he was walking around in the reserve level talking to fans. No security around him or anything, just going around chatting people up, what they thought of the team and the stadium. And, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now looking at some of the general managers they've had, we'll start with a Torrance High alumni, Fred Clare. He was a GM from 87 all the way into 98. He was the last World Series winning GM for them.
I'm not going to talk about Nightline.
That's a little before this era.
It's 85. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Then Tommy Lasorda was an interim manager in 98 for a short time.
Oh, yeah.
Then he traded away somebody. We may get to that later on in the podcast. And Kevin Malone was a GM for a few years from 99 to 01. Dave Wallace.
That was the new sheriff in town.
Dave Wallace, the interim GM in 01. Then Dave Evans from 01 to 04. Then Paul DePodesta.
Now in the NFL?
Yeah, with the Browns. He had a brief run there in 04 to 05 before kind of being run out of town by the LA Times. And I think, TJ Simers was not a big Paul DePodesta fan.
What was his nickname for him? Computer Boy or something like that?
Yeah, because they
That
didn't
boy.
like him. But I have a feeling he's going to get hired by the Mets in a minute.
And then Ned Coletti came down, who's kind of the opposite of Paul DePodesta. And Coletti was GM from 05 to 2014. And that's when Andrew Friedman was hired as president of baseball operations. He's been in charge since 2014. Farhan Zaidi was a GM from 2014 to 18 before the Giants poached him to run their baseball operations department. So thoughts on any of these GMs?
Shoot, there's a lot of names you threw out right there.
But we like
Some
it
good
from,
stuff.
or for me, it's all about from DePodesta on. After the Moneyball movie came out, and you're like, okay, these guys get it now. So they're like a little bit new school. It took a while for the farm system and everything to catch up, but I feel like DePodesta and everybody since him, Ned Coletti wasn't all in on that, but Ned Coletti has stayed in the organization, and he just came from the Giants where he was winning, and so I didn't like him at first, but he seems like we were talking about Stan Kasten, where I seen him at spring training and talked to him for a few minutes. Like, he just stood there and talked to me.
Have you guys read his book? What is it, the Big Chair or something?
Have not.
I haven't read it yet, but
He seems like a nice guy.
he seems, he's
And
on
knowledgeable.
he's on the post game show now, and he's
Yeah.
on radio. He'll do interviews, and when he was a GM, I never really felt that confident in him. But watching him, he was also handcuffed a bit, working under McCourt for those years. But you hear
Well, you had Logan White, right? And that was a big.
yeah,
Kershaw too, right?
they drafted Kershaw.
That was yeah. He was in
They
charge of that.
drafted Kemp. They had some good draft picks. Some of the free agent signings and trades were not the greatest. But he talks about on the radio a lot. He'll talk about some of the the thought behind it, and you realize there's a lot that goes into it.
Was he the GM that took Kenley from behind the dish and put him on the mound?
Yes, and Justin Turner too. Picked him up.
Yeah, he kind of Turner fell into his lap, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he gets credit for everything, but what I'm saying is the pieces around him weren't all in place, and I feel like he has a good, like an old school scout. Like, he kind of has a good feel for the game, for sure.
And he won. Yeah, he had them, winning. I mean, how many, they won several divisions under him. But now they're even more impressive under Friedman. What do you guys think on Friedman?
Freeman's amazing. When you hear him interviewed, you hear him talk, you can see why he's very smart. He gets both sides. You can tell that he's talks to the players. He knows what's going on, not just numbers wise, but what their family life is like and those kind of things. And he's super dialed in on everyone else in the league and their minor league systems. I can't imagine. He's got to make a ton of sacrifices just to be able to do all that kind of stuff. But he's done a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like he's genuine. That's what's cool because he's doing all that. But and then even the trades that came up with Peterson and Stripling this summer, and even Corey Seager, and it's every time you hear a player talk about it, like they feel good about it. Like he's trying to tell them like, hey, this is what happened or whatever. So he doesn't seem like he's trying to play poker and pull something over on anybody. And that's probably why he's able to do so many deals too, because the guy he's working with, he's trying to be upfront and honest with them. And then if you want to make the deal, we make the deal. And he just does that constantly all day. So I've tried to poke holes in a lot of the decisions he's made, and it seems like every time they thought everything out,
Yeah, and not every decision you make is gonna work out. That's how baseball is. But as long as there's the right thought and process behind it, it's hard to argue.
And he's not a self-promoter. He's never looking to take credit or anything. He's always giving credit to someone else.
And you mentioned the big chair. Jonah Carey wrote a book called The Extra 2%, and it shows the mentality of what he brought from the Rays, and he's a pretty impressive guy.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. This, we mentioned how those titles under McCourt, was not sustainable, but now it is very sustainable. They're just churning, guys up through the organization. They're making savvy moves and to acquire guys, like you said, the extra 2%. Like they get somebody like Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, and then all of a sudden those guys are flourishing for the Dodgers.
Well, and even with this Mookie contract, the flexibility that's still available, they're not locked up. You look at every other team, and they've got more money on the books than the Dodgers do in the next 3 to 4 years, which is scary for the rest of the league, exciting for us.
Yeah. So those are the guys who have been, in the front office. Let's look at some of the guys who are the field managers. So let's see if you can identify the manager from a little tidbit about them. This first guy, he is currently the oldest living Hall of Famer.
Was it Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tommy. He just turned 93 the other day.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
He was a longtime manager for forever. The Dodgers only had like 2 managers in LA. It was Walter Alston and then Tommy Lasorda from 76 to 96.
John Denver, right? And then
No, but Tommy Lasorda is so awesome. Like, it's like everything you want I don't know. I just love. My favorite Tommy story is one of my buddies. I don't know if I told you guys this. Worked for the Dodgers under Fox, like during those years, same age as us, but we grew up with Tommy Lasorda, and Tommy Lasorda is like a manager of the Dodgers, and he's whatever. So he sits by him. He gets to sit by him in that, what's it called, the Diamond Club or whatever. Yeah. And they sit down. They go get all this fancy food or whatever, and he sits by Tommy Lasorda. He goes, "Oh, what's that?" And Tommy Lasorda just starts eating off his plate, and that's just what Tommy, like, that seems like what he would do, right? And his stories are great, and Vin's stories about him. So I've always loved Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, Tommy story for you?
Yeah, Home Express at Delamo Mall. Was it near Copeland Sports? He was a guest signing autographs, and God, I thought I was the special guy in the world. He signed it to a future Dodger, to Evan, a future Dodger.
So
you must have known you were left-handed.
Years later, I think I was in someone's house, and it was the exact same thing. But I mean, you don't know any better as a kid, and that's pretty awesome.
Pretty funny because Fuji and I have not discussed this at all. And my Tommy Lasorda is Delamo Mall as well. And a grand opening of some store, he was there, and I went for an autograph and talked to him. Years later, I run into him at the Atlanta airport. And I'm like, should I go say something or just leave him alone? I was like, I gotta say something. It's Tommy. So I go up and I introduce myself. He's great. Very, we talk a little bit, and I told him I met him back in Delamo. He's like, yeah, I remember you. There's no chance you remember me, but I felt pretty special. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I remember, he was the manager. He came out of retirement to manage Team USA in the Olympics down there in Sydney in 2000.
That's right.
I think his first moment with the team, he walked in the clubhouse. And he tells you, he's like, I don't know any of you guys, but we're going to win the gold. We're going to go there and we're going to win the gold. I'm going to get to know you. And yeah, sure enough, they pulled off the upset. They beat Cuba down there in Sydney to win the gold medal. I mean, they don't make them like Tommy anymore.
Nope. Well, you can't be that way anyway. And you can ask Dave Kingman and some of the reporters.
Kurt Bivacqua, yeah.
Hurry up,
the next manager they had is the LA Dodger leader in games played.
This is after Tommy?
Yeah.
Was it Bill Russell?
Yeah, Bill Russell.
Take me home, country roads.
So
people were excited for him. That was between him and Scioscia.
Yeah.
Somewhat. I mean, social left. They were grooming Russell type of deal.
Yeah, and so he was there for a few years, 96 and 98. I think, with that, the transition of Fox, he kind of got ousted there. Then they had an interim manager, for he finished up the 98 season, was a manager who managed against his brother, who was a player within the division.
Yeah, Cypress College.
And Savannah High School.
Yeah.
Savannah High School.
Glenn Hoffman.
Yeah, Glenn Hoffman finished up the 98 season. Of course, his brother Trevor was the closer for the Padres at the time. And he, there were games, I think, where Trevor got saves against the Dodgers there as Glenn was the manager. Then after that, they had a manager who was the last player to get a hit off of Sandy Koufax.
Was he, how long was he there?
Davey, right?
Was it Davey Johnson?
Yeah,
Is
Davey
that right?
Johnson.
Okay.
That was in the 1966 World Series. Davey was playing with Baltimore.
Anything Davey did after 86, I don't remember.
Neither does he.
Yeah. So Davey Johnson was the manager there a couple years, 99 to 2000. And then they had a manager who's one of two managers to win the Manager of the Year award after being hired mid-season. This did not come in LA, though.
Joe Torre?
No.
Grady Little?
No.
Am I skipping somebody?
Jim
there?
Tracy.
Jim Tracy.
Oh, Tracy. I like Tracy.
Yeah.
He was okay. He got mad after a Rockies game one time, and I liked his interview.
He was there 5 years, 01 to 05. Then they had a coach who, after he was done managing in the big leagues, he coached high school baseball.
How long was he there?
He was there a couple years.
High school baseball. Huh. Kevin Groves coached high school baseball. A lot of those guys.
Mike
did, man.
Matheny.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was a name you just mentioned,
Grady Little.
Grady Little.
Oh, he went back to high school. Huh?
Yeah, he coached high school. He was there from 06 to 07. Then after that, they brought in a manager who's the only person who has 2,000 hits in the big leagues and 2,000 managerial wins in the big leagues.
And it's got a few rings, right?
Yeah.
But now with the
But
Dodgers.
now with the
Now with the
Dodgers.
Dodgers.
You got all these retreads.
And now he works for the other side.
That's true.
That was all the retreads.
Some people aren't very happy with him.
I didn't like any of those guys. Get 'em out.
That's Joe Torre. He was there for a few years, 08 to 2010.
KTLA.
Now we then move on to a manager who shares a record with Dale Long and Ken Griffey Jr. for homering in 8 straight games.
I remember watching
Dave
that.
Roberts?
Not 8 straight bunts. Yeah. I remember as a kid watching those at-bats and hit one in Texas opposite field. I didn't think
Kevin
it was going
Moss. I remember it so clearly.
out. Kevin Moss scared him.
Donnie Baseball managed the team from 2011 to 2015.
Congrats to Donnie. He's back in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He is. We'll see the Marlins. They've been in there 2 times before and they've won the World Series both times.
This might not happen.
And Donnie Baseball in his stretch there, so he actually hit two of those games. He hit grand slams. It was part of 6 grand slams that he hit that season in '87. Which
Is that a record?
It's a record. I think I want to say Travis Hafner tied the record recently. But 6 grand slams in one season is a record, and those are actually the only home runs in Don Mattingly, or only grand slams in Don Mattingly's career. All 6 came in '87. So he was at the helm from 2011 to 2015.
That's a record that'll never be broken, right? 7 grand slams in one season.
I don't know,
You
the way
think?
the ball flies these days.
Wow. Pat Traber. Wasn't he the bases loaded king for a while? He had a batting average over 500. He was a Mets. They traded him to the Mets from Cleveland, I think. Sorry.
And our listeners may be wondering why the Mets mentioned all of a sudden. We got the biggest rock star in the South Bay. A past guest, Terry Dewan, is here. You may hear some comments from the peanut gallery from him.
Robin Ventura with the bases loaded.
Okay, yeah, that's he had 18 grand slams career, something like that.
He also was in a headlock from Nolan Ryan.
Now we move on to our current manager, Alex. I think you're his biggest fan. This guy almost attended Air Force Academy to play quarterback. He ended up walking on at UCLA to play baseball. Any thoughts on Dave Roberts?
I like Dave. I really do. I think he does a great job. Communicating, managing, his in-game decisions have driven me absolutely nuts, especially in the playoffs. And then his first year, within that first 10 games, there was some stuff that happened that made me question why they hired him and how he was going to work. And then, he turned around and did some. He does a great job, really does, especially the way they mix up lineups and players and all that. But when it comes to playoffs, I have absolutely gone crazy with his decision making.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Dave Roberts? Food?
Love him.
So my thing is that I agree with that. I think he's long-term character guy. He's PR guy. He's big picture guy. He's all those things. But in a moment, sometimes, and it's easy to judge, whatever. He's made a lot of great decisions and everything. And he's a team guy and he cares about his players, everything. But in a moment, he's a kind of a player's manager at some, big picture he's not. He'll explain everything to you and everything, but in a moment I feel like sometimes he lets his relationship with the players get in the way of what he's doing sometimes. But yeah, I mean, that's probably just because we've lost, so I get upset about losing. But
yeah,
he's good. Overall, he's really good. Long term, all summer long, I'm happy,
It's funny looking at, as we started this managerial discussion with Tommy Lasorda, and then we finished with Dave Roberts. I mean, we're talking about, we see how the position of manager has changed over the years. Tommy was front and center. He was a rah-rah guy. He was the face of the organization. And now Dave Roberts, I mean, he's been more of a PR guy. I mean, that's what the managers do now. So it's funny seeing the juxtaposition of, those two guys and how far we've come.
But they both empower the managers. I mean, they both empower their players, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think back to the stories like that even Oral Hershiser tells now about Tommy, like nicknaming him the Bulldog and all these things that Tommy Lasorda was good that way, and then he let Gibson do it. Kirk Gibson come and do it to everybody. But like those kind of things are different. They're different than the way Dave Roberts empowers you and says, lets you know that how good you can be and how we're going to get there, and like the whole organization is kind of holistically doing that, developing guys and then giving them days off just so that they can be at their best when they need to be and not feeling like they need to push themselves too hard in any situation. So like I think it is a change in all of baseball, but it's good. Both of them are good, and there's times for both of them. So that's why I think Dave Roberts is trying to mix both at times still.
And to be fair to him, there's been a number of times where I've not agreed with the move, and then it works out. The one thing in the playoffs, though, especially just last year in Game 5, it was the first time I can remember being at a game and surrounded by people that were all on the same page and were like, what is going on? And then watching it happen, all of our fears right there. Like, we were all like in agreement. Like,
Well, you suppressed our films. We were with each other on Game 4 the year before,
right?
Which was the same thing.
Yeah, but even then,
Series.
there was a couple people still trying to defend him, right? There was at least one person that was very vocal trying to defend the organization and the moves being made, while others were still complaining about taking Rich Hill out. And
Was it? I mean, I could be wrong. Was it not a one-hit shutout?
that he had going?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was one hit. He had a shutout, low pitch count, and he wasn't going to throw again in the series. I'm with you, but there was
that was the
it was
plan,
a different
though, for him to go
like,
4 innings or whatever it was.
No, he went seven.
He was in the seventh inning,
Yeah.
one out, the runner on first base.
Also, I said Jim Traber. I meant Pat Tabler.
Okay. So those are the managers, and usually we finish up there. But before we get to the players, I feel like there's one more person in the Dodger organization who's not a player who we need to discuss. The great Vince Scully, who was at the mic for 67 years there, first in Brooklyn, then here in Los Angeles. I don't know if there's a person not on the field who's meant more to an organization than Vince Scully. I mean, what do you guys think of him? How does he affect you guys as fans?
Well, not just an organization, to a whole generation of people that grew up in Los Angeles. I mean, I think I'm not crazy in thinking that he was a grandfather to all of us, and he would tell stories and we would listen, and it was the best. With baseball, it's always on TV, 162 games in a year, and it's not always sitting down and dialed in for every single pitch or doing other stuff, but he's in the background painting a beautiful picture, telling a story, and then it's comforting.
Mm-hmm.
When everyone brings radios to the game, I think we can all remember, hearing the broadcast as you're watching the game, and to that point also, Jaime Jarrín, and it's been a pretty special time of broadcasters in LA.
Yeah, even Chick Hearn, he's got Chick Hearn socks on right now. But
I left my Bob Miller ones at home.
no, but we have had, and to me, like Vin Scully is like almost has like you said, like grandfather or like a spiritual sense. He'll bring up poetry. He'll talk about heaven, and I've had my best naps probably falling asleep to Vin Scully, but. And I know the year you retired, I have a picture of you, Billy, with my son dressed up as Vin Scully for Halloween. So, and you got your Vin Scully shirt on now, and Fooch had his on the other day when we were getting ready for this. So, yeah, Vin is for sure special person in our lives. Like, and how much we love the Dodgers is probably a lot to do with guys like him and Tommy Lasorda when we were young.
Yeah.
The stories that Vinny would tell about, and this is before Google and the internet, like he would have some obscure stories on all these random players coming up, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it was like you guys mentioned, like a grandfather. It's true, and it's incredible because you got millions of people listening to him throughout LA, but it felt like he was talking to you, like
Yes.
you turn the game on and you're watching the game with him. He's having a conversation with you. Yep. It's there's nothing else like it nowadays with the way that this broadcaster broadcasts games. It's just two guys talking to each other, and you're just listening in. But Vin had a conversation with you. He would ask you questions. He would respond because he knows your reaction and responses to that. It was special. I don't think I'd be the Dodger fan that I am without him. And so we definitely miss him, but we were lucky to have him for all those years. All right, we've been talking about a lot of the managers, the GMs, Vin Scully, the owners. Now it's time to talk about the players in the past 25 years for the Dodgers. A quick reminder to all the listeners, the rules for creating this roster, you go back 25 years, so we're going back to 1995. You pick one player per year, you cannot repeat players, and you must form a coherent roster. So starting off at the catching position, I've got Mike Piazza from 97. Huge year offensively from Piazza. 40 home runs, 32 doubles. He was worth 8.7 wins. OPS Plus led the league at 185. He hit 362, 431, 638, OPS over 1,000. I mean, you don't see that kind of production behind the plate ever anymore, do you?
Did it ever happen? Before or after Piazza?
I mean, mind-boggling numbers. He was an all-star and Silver Slugger that year. At first base, I went with Bellinger from 2019. He played center, he played right, he played first. I put him at first base. He was the MVP last year. He won the Gold Glove in right. He was Silver Slugger and an all-star. He was worth 9.1 wins, which led the league. He led the league in total bases with 351. 47 home runs, drove in over 100, stole 15 bags. He hit over 300, on base over 400, slugged over 600. He also OPS'd over 1,000. Second base, I went with Jeff Kent in 05. 29 home runs. So just like Piazza at catcher, you're getting a lot of production from a spot that does not always produce offensively. 29 home runs, 36 doubles, triple slash at 289, 377, 512. He was an all-star and Silver Slugger that year. Then across the diamond, Adrian Beltre had a monster year in 04. He was worth 9.6 wins, led the league with 48 home runs, hit 334, 388, 629, OPS over 1,000. He was a Silver Slugger. Tough competition. I think he lost the MVP to Bonds that year, but
yeah. Well, if you're gonna lose to somebody,
huge year, right? 200 hits. I mean, and great defense there at third too. everything really came together for Beltre
You
that
think he's
year.
the best third baseman ever?
I mean, it's tough to say because I haven't seen, the guys like Mike Schmidt,
Right.
Brooks Robinson, some of the guys from yesteryear.
You're right. He is absolutely.
I think you make the argument.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
Really?
Yes.
I mean, he's over 3,000 hits, great defense.
Well, the defensive play that he made, the slow roller, I
Yeah.
think everybody makes now that he made. I feel like guys probably made it before. The slow roller play, but the backhand down the line is cute and fun, and the big arm. I mean, it's a great play, but it's a big. It used to be a big arm position. They used to but now you're like a shortstop playing that position. I think Beltre was the first one who I don't know about the first one, but yeah, I agree with you that everybody plays third base more like Beltre now.
And there's a lot of great third basemen in the game right now. At Beltre's time, like that year, like you would not see that out of third base.
And he left us right after that.
Yeah, that's right. That was in his walk year, and that was.
He was rewarded.
They were, I think, a little cheaper at the time. I think if that happens under the current ownership, it's a lot different.
He sticks around. Yeah, because he was, 24, 25?
He was young because he came up. He was
16
very
signed,
young.
got
Yeah.
the appendicitis deal.
But he kind of underachieved before that year. And if you remember, he
I
had that.
underachieved as a 19, 20
okay,
year old.
yeah, you're right. Not underachieved, but compared to that year, that was when he finally came.
Yeah, he
and
put it
he had a
together.
weird foot injury that
He had
made
like
him
bone spurs in his ankle.
because he was out in front of everything, or just young hitter, you could argue, whatever. But he started driving the ball to right center that year after that weird, I forget what it was, an ankle injury or something, where he couldn't put all his weight on his front foot. Finally, and that's what I remember. I don't know how true that is, but that's how I feel.
But
More
then
to deal with his representation than anything else.
Was he a Boris guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, he signed that big deal in Seattle afterwards, and then when he does get in the Hall of Fame, he'll go in with a Rangers hat. Disappointing, he's not going to go in with an LA hat.
Who does?
Well, there was somebody. We'll get to that.
All right.
But at shortstop, I went with Hanley Ramirez in 2013. A bit of an abbreviated season. He got injured in the World Baseball Classic that year. I think he tore a ligament in his thumb, and then he got injured during the season. But you could not get him out that year. So, I mean, he only had, 336 plate appearances, and he was worth 5.2 wins in that amount of time. 20 home runs, 25 doubles, 345, 402, 638, triple slash.
Wow.
Again, I mean, that's coming from shortstop. The defense was passable. It wasn't Omar Vizquel there, but good enough. He also swiped 10 bags. How different is the 2013 playoffs if he doesn't break his ribs?
Yeah, well, Joe Kelly found a way to get him out, right? And
That's Kershaw has defense too, right?
oh goodness, find a way to forgive Joe Kelly, and I think they win that series if he's healthy and against the Cardinals.
Yeah, because he was coming off that monster NLDS against the Braves. They could not get him out, and then first they'd be there in the NLCS against the Cardinals because his ribs broken. Tries to play through it, but it's just a shell of himself. But yeah, monster year from him there in 2013. And another abbreviated season as we move along to the outfield. I'm going Manny Ramirez in 2008 after they acquired him. Again, it was a brief time. He only had 229 plate appearances for the Dodgers. Racked up 3.5 wins, 17 bombs, 14 doubles, drove in 53. Get ready for his triple slash. 396, 489, 743. OPS over 1,200. His OPS plus 221. Incredible. I mean, we found out later on it was a bit aided.
I thought he was trying to get pregnant.
Mannywood was fun. That was the beginning of us being really good right there.
Yeah,
Right?
that
Wasn't
was 2008. Yeah, they acquired him. Then went to the NLCS in 2008 and 2009. That was in their previous playoff appearances in 2004 and 2006, they didn't really feel like they were a threat. But yeah, when Manny was there, it was something different once they acquired him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and one of the most memorable moments I have is just that grand slam on his bobblehead there.
Yeah.
Coming up, and that place just erupted and went nuts. And there, I was gonna say there's been a little, no one as exciting, but that's not true. There's been some really exciting players that brought that kind of atmosphere in the last
Since
years.
then, though. Since then.
Well, since then you've had some
Since
pretty
then,
good
we've
runs.
been good. But before that,
Well, before
it
that,
had been
hey,
a long time.
Let's not forget, 3 or 4 years right before that was just as exciting every night. People did not leave the stadium early.
That's true.
Because
We'll get to that.
we'll get to that in a second.
5 years prior. We'll get to that as we get on. But offensively, yeah, they didn't have a stick like that.
No.
That was that electric.
He's one of the, if not the best right-handed hitter of that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Albert Pujols, I think, are right there. Barry,
Yeah.
obviously, left-handed.
A-Rod.
Different world, but yeah, A-Rod as well. But Manny and Albert, for me, were
Yeah.
incredible.
They
at
were
that
locked
time.
in every at bat, it felt like.
Then center field, I got Matt Kemp in 2011. His should-be MVP season. He was worth 8 wins, led the league in runs, 115, home runs with 39, and RBIs with 126. A home run away from being 40-40 because he stole 40 bags as well. Triple slash at 324, 399, 586, just a hair under 1,000 on his OPS. Led the league in OPS plus and total bases with 172 and 353 respectively. All-Star, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger that year. I don't know if he deserved the Gold Glove, but he did deserve the MVP. Lost that in a close race to Braun. Then in right field, I'm going Sean Green in 01. 49 home runs for Green. He was worth 7 wins. Hit a hair under 300. OPS just under 1,000. Then as we move along to the bench, I've got Russell Martin as the backup catcher in 07. He was worth 5.6 wins. An all-around player there. He had some pop, hit 19 bombs, 32 doubles, even swiped 21 bags, 293, 374, 469 triple slash. All-Star, Gold Glover, and Silver Slugger there for Russell Martin. So, I mean, that's with him and Piazza, you got some great production there behind the dish. On the infield, I've got Justin Turner from 2018. I think that year he started on the injured list. What do you have?
They get hit in the wrist, right?
Yeah,
in the spring training
that's
game.
right. Late on, and they had that terrible start to the season, coming off the World Series in 2017. They were really struggling. My thought was, I'm waiting till Turner gets back before I, really see what this team's all about. I think his second game back, he had a bases loaded double down there in Miami, and then they went off once he was back. He had 312, 406, 518. Solid defense there at third from him. And then the other backup infielder, Corey Seager in 2016. His Rookie of the Year. He was a Silver Slugger, an All-Star. Hit 26 home runs, 40 doubles. Always getting a lot of extra base hits out of Seager. And when he comes to the plate, make sure you're paying attention because those at-bats don't last long.
What a season he's having right now.
Yeah. Finally, had a long time to get healthy, and it's really showing. But yeah, I got him in 2016. He hit over 300. So again, you're getting some great production out of a position that you don't normally get it. And in the backup outfield, Gary Sheffield in 2000, 43 home runs. He was worth 6.1 wins. Walked 101, just 71 strikeouts, triple slash of 325, 438, 643, OPS over 1,000. I mean, does anybody have quicker, stronger wrists than he did?
No, you got Dwight Gooden's nephew was amazing. He came up as a shortstop, and the bat wiggle, the timing, all that. He put it together. Pretty phenomenal athlete.
Yeah, if your world revolves around the Mets, I think it's been documented already how much people love Gary Sheffield and the can of dip in his mouth.
But it's interesting now. His swing is more, maybe everybody understands the way people are swinging now. But when he was doing that, everybody was like, what is he doing? He just must be super fast swing. But it's I think the mechanics of the swing that they teach now is similar to his.
Imagine how good he would have been if he had dated Rihanna and broken up with her.
Right.
Then finishing up the outfield bench, I've got Raul Raul Mondesi in 96. He had a 30-30 year. I was unable to get his 30-30 year. He hit 24 home runs and 40 doubles in 96, swiped 14 bags, triple slash at 297, 334, 495. Any comments on these position players before we move to the pitching staff?
No, those are good though. I like them.
All right, glad we got your approval. The pitching staff, I mean, there's only one guy to start with, Clayton Kershaw. You could get him pretty much any year. I went with 2014. That was the year he won the MVP. He was worth 8.2 wins, which led the league. 21-3, led the league in wins. ERA plus, FIP, WHIP, strikeouts per 9, and strikeouts per walk. 1.77 ERA. Struck out 239, ERA plus of 197, FIP of 181, WHIP of .857, 10.8 strikeouts per 9, and crazy 7.71 strikeouts per walk. Incredible. Zach Greinke in 2015 came up just short in the Cy Young voting that year. He went 19-3, led the league with a 1.66 ERA. I mean, just minuscule ERAs. We've seen some of these numbers this year in 2020, but that's in 60 games. These guys did it, in 200 innings to have ERAs that small.
And it might have hurt him that season, right? With Kershaw, a pretty good year and got some Cy Young votes.
Yeah, Kershaw, I think he struck out 300 guys that year.
Yeah.
They finished second and third to Arrieta there in 2015. Greinke that year led the league in ERA plus 222. Ridiculous. 122% better than league average. Also led the league in WHIP at .844. And Greinke, phenomenal athlete. He also won the Gold Glove that year. Next member of the rotation, going back to 95, Nomo Mania.
Yeah, see, pretty exciting time.
He went 13-6 there in that strike-shortened season. Led the league in shutouts with 3 shutouts. Led the league in strikeouts with 236. Strikeouts per 9, 11.1. Also led the league in hits per 9 at 5.8. I mean, it was quite the phenomenon when he pitched, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were comparing it to Fernando. Obviously that's where they got it from,
Right.
and who knows if whoever came up with that, but it was fun, and he was, the quirky wind-up and the newness about it. It was a lot of fun, and he was really good, man.
When you say newness, are you referencing it was one of the first Japanese players to be here?
Yeah, how much pressure
was
on
he
him?
one of the first? Because we've had a few now since, but was he?
Yeah, I think he
was
was
there
one
one
of the-
before him?
I think I feel like the Giants had somebody like way back when, but this was like the first kind of
Superstar.
guy to really open up the Pacific Rim. And so
And the Japanese are serious about baseball. We've had a
absolutely.
lot since,
And
and
they broadcast them in Japan as well at the time.
And had the Japanese reporters traveling with them.
so at a time after the strike or during the strike,
this was immediately after.
Yeah.
immediately after the strike, it was big for baseball to go international like that. In the countries maybe that people already loved baseball, but at that time it was LA, and there was a lot of fanfare, international, not just Japanese, but
Oh, no. But
I feel like a lot of it was really cool.
I think without Nomo doing what he did, you don't get Ichiro Suzuki here the way it happened.
Yeah, he proved, that they play capable baseball there. So, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on him because if he failed,
Right.
then they may not go back to Japan or Korea or these countries for players anymore.
And now you see Americans going there now. To
A lot of them,
revitalize
yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
Anyone
so
that can throw a no-hitter in Colorado, though.
incredible. Especially pre-humidor Colorado.
Right. Yep.
Incredible.
In a very strange game. I want to say there was a rain delay or
Rain.
It was,
two.
it was in the rain. Something, I don't know if we'll ever see a no-hitter in Colorado again, but Nomo's got the only one there. Next pitcher, Kevin Brown, the $100 million man, 1999. He went 18-9, ERA exactly 3. Started 35 games, which led the league. Over 250 innings.
That was the first $100 million contract.
Yep. 7 years, $105 million. Didn't work out great, but Kevin Brown, when he pitched in LA when he was healthy, he did pitch pretty well.
For those first 2 years, for sure. Like if we had a team around him, we thought he was gonna. But the rest of it was like no good. But he did good, and then he started getting hurt and stuff. But the first 2 years, 99 and 2000, he did great.
Yeah.
Different personality. Didn't exactly mesh with the LA people.
Then finishing up the rotation, I've got another lefty, Odalis Perez in 02. He went 15-10, ERA right at 3. He also in that year, do you guys remember his best pitched game that year?
In 02?
Yeah.
I don't.
He had a near perfect game in Chicago.
Okay.
He faced a minimum. He gave up an infield hit. It was like a bouncer up the middle. Izturis went his bad hop into Izturis' chest. He just beat it out first. Next guy ground into a double play. He faced the minimum.
So the shortstops, Dodgers organizations don't like perfect games.
Apparently, that one I think is the less than perfectly manicured infield in Wrigley.
Both have 3s in their number too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Izzy wore number 3, Hanley 13.
But his Turris was a great defender.
He was very slick fielding.
And by the way, Johan Santana, when he threw his no-hitter, that ball was fair.
Blasphemy.
Then as I move to the bullpen here, I kind of cheated. I got a swingman here. Ramon Martinez
Ooh,
in 98.
Nice.
It wasn't his best year. He had a abbreviated year, just 15 starts, 100 innings, 7-3 with a 2.83 ERA. It's funny, I know I got him in 98, but back in 95, I was, I'm 10 years old, and, we didn't go to a lot of games. We went to a fair amount of games, and somebody gave us some tickets to go to a game, and I was counting down like the pitching rotation before the game. I'm like, oh man, I want to see Nomo pitch, because there's Nomo mania.
Right.
And so I'm counting, like 2 weeks in advance, and we miss it by a day. I think Nomo is pitching the next day. There's a game against the Marlins, so I go and we watch Ramon Martinez pitch, and he just twirls a no-hitter. So
That's amazing.
it ended up working out pretty well.
I was there as well.
Were you?
Were you? I've never been to a no-hitter. I've been
Lowe's
to a
level.
lot of brawls, but I've never been to a no-hitter.
All right, that's the only big league no-hitter I've been in person. Ramon Martinez in 95.
What year did he strike out 18?
I feel like that was before. I want to say like
early 90s?
Yeah.
That's before people knew who Pedro was.
Yeah. Delino to Shields. That was
No.
a good trade.
Yeah, I'm surprised he
We
didn't
already
come
talked
up.
about GMs.
Yeah. The next reliever, I got Broxton in 09.
Yeah.
7-2, a lot of vulture wins there. 2.61 ERA, 36 saves, 114 strikeouts in 76 innings, 13.5 Ks per 9. Just came in throwing Ched. I don't know. We don't
Which
probably.
Matt Stairs loved.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about the postseason. I think Jimmy Rollins also had that triple off of him that year as well. In 2010, another reliever. I've got the lefty Hung-Chi Kuo.
Yeah.
He was worth. I mean, I know WAR is not the best measure to best means to measure relievers, but still incredible. 3.2 wins. Kuo was worth there in 2010. 1.2 ERA in 60 innings. He struck out 73, good for 11 strikeouts per 9. 2012, I got a ground ball machine, Ronald Belisario.
Oh.
He went 8-1, 2.54 ERA, 68 appearances, 71 innings pitched. He did strike out just about a batter an inning, those 69 strikeouts. Come in throwing that heavy sinker, just get a bunch of ground balls. 2006, Takashi Saito.
Yeah.
72 appearances, ERA 2.07, 24 saves. He was worth 3.2 wins. Not a lot of, let's see, he had, 107 strikeouts in 78 and a third innings, so 12.3 Ks per 9. And that's about to go up here in a moment as we get to Jansen in 2017. 3.1 wins. He was 5-0. ERA of 1.32. Led the league with 41 saves. Struck out 109 in 68 and a third. 14.4 strikeouts per 9. He walked just 7 batters all year. 15 and a half strikeouts per walk. Ridiculous.
And he came up as he was a catcher.
Yeah. Those videos of him throwing out dudes in the World Baseball Classic are pretty impressive. He's a switch hitter too. He's had some at bats in the big
A
league.
switch batter, they said. That's
Well,
what Coletti said. He was a switch batter.
He
I don't know if you call him a switch hitter.
Yeah, he switched from batting to pitching.
he had a double against
Wade Wilson, not Wilson.
against Colorado.
The closer. He used to be a closer.
Wade Davis?
Yeah,
Wade Davis,
yeah. Then he had that at bat against Washington in the NLDS in 2016. He came in for like a 4-out save.
I think we need to question WAR with that 3.1, Billy. I mean, come on. Those numbers.
Those numbers, yeah, pretty.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy. Then now, as we finish up, though, we got to finish with the closer for the Dodgers, Eric Gagne in 2003, when he won the Cy Young Award. ERA of 1.2, 55 saves, 77 appearances, 82 and a third innings, struck out 137, 15 strikeouts per 9. And Alex, you alluded to it earlier, talking about people sticking around to the end of games, and game over was the reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That place would erupt when Guns N' Roses would come on, and he was coming in, and everyone had their shirts with the little goatee hanging off of it, and it was game over. He didn't blow a save that year, right? He had that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the number
I
was.
want to say like 83 or something.
83, yep.
Yeah.
He was unhittable, and his fastball was close to 100, and then his changeup was like 60 something.
That's when we
That
thought
slow curveball
we
he
were
was
talking
throwing.
about Vin getting ready to retire because he didn't know what to call the pitches. He was just like, breaking ball by Gagne, because it was like, dude, guys were missing the ball by 3 feet. So Vin just started calling everything that wasn't a fastball a breaking ball because he didn't know. He didn't want to try to guess which one was which or whatever. So he started doing that with other guys too. But I feel like because Gagne was so elusive with those pitches.
Chick Hearn did something similar, but he just started calling people's names randomly.
I feel like if the pitching ninja was around, we would have some great pitching overlays with some of Gagne's stuff. Get the fastball and and that changeup. So, we got some good closers here with Gagne, Jansen, Saito, Broxton. But in the game, you got to give the ball to Broxton in this situation, right? In Gagne.
Yeah, I think Gagne is your closer on that roster, absolutely. Jansen would be your setup guy. You have a lot of options, but Quill is the lefty, Saito is your righty, Broxton as well. I guess Ramon, you have Ramon as your long reliever if something wasn't going to work out. But it's a decent little staff right there.
Yeah, all right. So, and again, if our listeners, if you guys get inspired by this roster, you can visit the website, boxseatbanter.com. There's a link to download a spreadsheet off of Google Drive. You can go ahead and make your own roster. And if you do, go ahead and submit that to me on social media. I would love to see any rosters that our listeners make. We've had so much to talk about regarding the Dodgers that we've decided to split this into 2 episodes. So you've heard about the personnel that we've discussed. Listen into the next episode as we discuss the roster that our guests Ollie, Fuge, and Morales put together, as well as the tough decisions that we face. We'll answer your questions. We will grade the roster and give our final thoughts on the Dodgers. So make sure to tune in to part 2 of the Dodger episode of Box Seat Banter.